Hi, I'm Denise and I'm a counsellor, and I wanted to talk to you today about how counselling works. So many of my clients, before they become clients, will inquire and ask me if they've not had counselling before, how the process works and what they can expect. So I thought it'd be really good to record something to kind of talk you through that process. But before I begin, it's really important to say that there are many different types of counselling that follow many different models. And so predominantly I'm going to be talking about person-centred counselling. Although I work more in an integrative way, I'm person-centred at heart. So what those two things mean is being person-centred means that I'm very client-led and client-focused, that the sessions are all paced around the client's wishes and wants. So the client decides the pace we go at, the client is the expert in the room, although I will use my skills and abilities that I've learned over time to help the client find a way forward. And being integrative means that I will pull on other approaches to tailor therapy in particular to what the client's needs are. So I might bring things like psychoeducation into the room so that the client can understand why their body and brain respond the way it does. I might look at grounding techniques for flashbacks or panic attacks, or we might work in creative ways if the client is struggling to speak or find the words to describe their trauma. So I wanted to start really by saying that there are quite a few different types of counsellors, there are quite a few different types of qualifications to be a counsellor, but good counsellors that provide ethical services often belong to various professional bodies. So I belong to the British Association of Counselling Psychotherapists, or the BACP, which I think is probably the biggest organisation. It's a bit like our Ofsted. We work towards an ethical framework. We have to complete qualifications and continued professional development to make sure that we are good counsellors who work in an ethical way that provide a good service. So when you're looking for a therapist, it's really important that you look for their awarding body, who is the person that oversees them, and what qualifications do they have. And you can Google what is it a university, is it a awarding body, who is it, so you can double check those people are truly qualified and have experience. So counselling works by the client looking at exploring their concerns, their fears, the things that have brought them into the therapy room in an open way with the counsellor. And that is normally taking place by talking. Because what happens is a counsellor, i.e. me or a therapist, encourages the client to really challenge themselves and go deeper in other than what's on the surface. So if you think about when you have a problem, you know a few things about the problem, you know the factual things about the problem, and you might focus on that rather than the emotional things. So in the counselling room, the counsellor will gently challenge sometimes and offer support for the client to look at that. Therapists might work physically with a client for 60 minutes or 50 minutes depending on your counsellor's timing, but actually they hold their client for a lot longer than that. They'll often research the client's conditions, some of the aspects of help and support they can offer. They'll make notes and they'll think of ways that they can help the client move forward and stop being stuck. A good counsellor will be non-judgmental, empathic, they'll care, and you'll see that. And it's a two-way process. So although you're there for your journey and you should expect the counsellor to support you in the aspects you need and not talk about their own personal life, you're not in it alone. It's not like you're just talking and the therapist is silence. There is interaction, there is guidance in a non-directive way, and the therapist is there to hold your pain by being open and transparent, and also by modelling good healthy boundaries. So some people will say, well, why is the counselling hour only 50 minutes? An hour is 60 minutes. And some therapists do work for 60 minutes. But 50 minutes is so that the counsellor can actually complete your notes and then ground themselves the way that you're grounded before you leave the room. Because although you physically left, there might be aspects of your story or aspects of what you're going through that stay with the counsellor, and the counsellor needs time to process those and put them down before seeing the next client. Counsellor, being a counsellor isn't a persona. It's not just a job role. It's not like being an actress and playing a role. It's actually who we are. You know, we bring empathy because we are empathic. We bring openness because we are open. You know, we be non-judgmental because we're not judgmental people. So, you know, when somebody is sitting with you as a counsellor or a therapist, they are really sitting with you in realness. They are open and transparent, and they bring their whole selves to the interaction. And there actually aren't that many other jobs where someone is truly authentically themselves with someone else when they're at work. So it's important to understand that often counsellors will take annual leave regularly. They'll make sure there's space and breaks between the work you do, and that is to recharge for themselves and to consolidate the work you do, because you survive before the counselling interaction and you'll survive after. So those breaks are just as important for you as they are for the therapist, because it means that you can pause, reflect on what's happened, gain space and clarity on your therapeutic process, and also make sure the work's paced well enough. I think it's important to say that all therapists work within an ethical framework, and we are quite, we're quite stuck with that, in the fact that we would like to work within those parameters to make sure that everybody is given the most fair and ethical treatment and that has the best experience. Counselling is not a magic wand. It's not like you walk through the door and it falls away and it feels better. It is really challenging. I'll always say to my clients, you'll have sessions where you'll skip out the room and have the best day, and you'll have sessions where it'll be really tough and you'll think, this is hard, I'm not sure I want to continue. But by talking openly, by taking away the secrecy and the shame of the things that have happened to you or that you're experiencing, it can help to reshape those memories and the trauma you've experienced and make you feel better. So I hope that's helped in kind of how counselling works and what to expect. Most counsellors will do assessments. Sometimes these are lower priced than the actual sessions, but most of the time they're not, because it's still a session. And an assessment is a two-way process. The counsellor will ask you direct questions to work out whether their specialisms are enough to hold you and you can work with them. But it's also your opportunity to decide whether you want to work with that therapist and it's someone who seems good for you. And I would say that this should be reviewed regularly, so you have the autonomy at any point to decide the therapist isn't right for you, and you can leave. Hopefully that's something you could discuss with your therapist to point out the reasons why. But after the assessment process, it's not as direct. So it's kind of an information gathering exercise, but it should be a two-way street in the fact the counsellor should talk to you as well. So I hope that's helped. If anybody's got any questions or you want to get in touch because you're thinking about having counselling but you're unsure if it's for you, please feel free, and I'll put the website below so you can make contact. Thank you for watching.